section. I'm sorry, I don't have the section number off the top of my head. It seems to me if we're going to address candidates for local offices, that their campaign committees also ought to be elected, just for consistency. And then on page 6, at 60818B, this is, B appears to establish a floor requirement for voting in statewide elections. My understanding is that in order to be considered as a member of the commission, an individual must be registered with the same political party continuously for 5 years immediately preceding the time of appointment. That's what it says in A above. Since the redistricting commission will be charged with such an important responsibility, my request is to change B so that it reads, have voted in all of the statewide general elections in the last 5 years immediately preceding their appointment, which would have the de facto effect of requiring full participation in the electoral process. And the reason I think that's not too onerous is that absentee voting has now become so common that and so easy to do that it's not unreasonable to ask all commissioners to fully participate in at least the basic act of voting and the level that requires of participation in the democratic process. Page 13, 60835 sub C. This is the quorum requirement for the meeting of the panel. The language currently states that 2 members of the panel constitute a quorum. My request is that all 3 members of the panel constitute the quorum. And the reason for that is that when the panel meets, that although there is another regulation that states that if an applicant being removed from the pool does require the concurrence of all 3 members, there are nonetheless other significant important items of business that should require a complete unanimity, unanimity of agreement among the members. And I appreciate the discussion that we had off camera that there are some perhaps minor things that need to be handled if somebody's sick. I believe that could be handled by bylaw or other rule. And next set is of suggestions is on 15, but I don't have a particular place to put this. I just have it written on page 15, and that is to, by regulation, establish a standard of review, using words to the effect of requiring the panel members to use reasoned, diligent, and informed judgment in their decision-making process. A reasoned, diligent, and informed judgment as they make their decisions. I'd like to say that before getting up here, I talked with a number of folks that are both on the panel and in the audience that work with the Auditor General's office, and I just want to thank you very much for your effort. I know this is hard to do. You're trying to create something that's brand new that may or may not be. I'm not aware this is anywhere else in the country. And what you write here hopefully will become a standard throughout the United States as folks tend to look at this and look to California. So thank you very much for your effort. You've been very kind to me in answering all my questions before coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And do any of the panel members have any further questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
Is there anybody else out there who would like to make public comments?
Good afternoon. I'm sure it's been a long day. I appreciate you taking my comments. My name is Gary Darling. I'm here today as a private citizen and I have some very brief comments for you.
Thank you.
During the Davis administration, I served as the Geographic Information Officer for California. And after many years of carving up this state cartographically in different ways, there were some pitfalls I wanted to quickly warn your group about. One is, there's been some controversy about academic individuals or individuals who have high levels of knowledge in geographic information systems and statistics, and you don't want to overload your panel with groups like that. On the other side, there's a significant, I think, unseen danger in that if you don't have high levels of expertise in statistics and in GIS, a private consultant could very much affect the process, and I think that consultant could change things in subtle ways that would be unseen by practically everyone in the system, but could significantly affect outcomes. Some things to watch for is the selection of data that goes into the process. If full intellectual property rights aren't available to all the data sets used in production of this system, the consultant will create a set of intellectual property that could be property of the consultant. And that could then give quite a bit of advantage to one party or the other that could then subsequently buy the exact parameters that were used in divining the lines that were drawn. Just to try to do this mathematically simply, what happens when you optimize something? Imagine a quartz crystal and a piece of paper coming down on that quartz crystal. The place where the piece of paper would hit the crystal would be the optimal answer. It turns out that when you have a lot of parameters, it's often possible to just change a very small thing and have a huge effect on the overall outcome, because if the crystal was to touch the piece of paper on a face, every part of that face would be an equally optimal answer. It's often used by mathematical modelers to produce wildly different answers that appear the same. When you draw those as maps, you will never know what hit you if you don't have someone in this process who fully understands to the degree to which you can do that. Now, there's a lot of ways of getting someone into the process. One is making all of the data used in decision-making a public domain object. In the end, what will probably happen is some software will be bought, and there is software for political redistricting. And if you have everyone have equal access to information, then public comments can help you acquit some of this. But it's still a concern. A second class of concern is that the state of California hiring process for consultants doesn't envision conflicts of interest of the type that might occur here. So you don't have any reasonable vetting process for one of the most important individuals in this whole system. That consultant, if they have ties to one party or another, can change everything, either for their own economic benefit or for other reasons. So there's a whole other layer of vetting that would need to be done here, and I'm not clear that the state's thought through how you do this. I'm sorry I don't have specific recommendations on how to do this one, but I think it's a subtle problem that you guys are going to have to think through. The last thing I'll say is, in my own personal reading of this, the first time it came through, when I hit the letters of recommendations, it created quite a bit of concern for me. I thought about, well, what if I tried to become one of these members? Who would I get? How would I do it? It was very disquieting to think about, oh, do I pick a person who is important to the Republicans, important to the Democrats? I can do that because I've been a statewide figure, but it just seems like the wrong thing to ask, especially early in the process. I'm not certain that the information you would get from that process would outweigh the detriment that you'd have in asking for it and making it so very simple to tell who's aligned with who in the process. And with that, thank you very much for taking my comment.
Thank you. Do any of the panel members have questions? No. No. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to provide public comments at this time? Seeing nobody who wants to make public comments, we will recess until we have another person who would like to make public comments. Thank you.